Hi, my name's Beth Burgess from Smiles Recovery Coaching. I haven't made a video in a while, so I'm very sorry about that. Someone did send me a request a few months ago and asked me to make a video about recovering relationships. So that was a while ago, so I hope you haven't got married yet or anything like that. So here are my thoughts about recovery and relationships, and what you can do about that, because relationships are kind of complicated and so is recovery. Some people will tell you and advise you that maybe you should wait a year until you start upon a serious relationship after you've stopped drinking or taking drugs. I don't think it's that cut and dried. I actually don't believe there's a perfect time for anything like that, and you can't necessarily account for how you're going to feel, who you're going to fall in love with. But at the same time, it is important to take certain steps to make sure that you're safe, because if you're trying to recover from an addiction, number one thing in your life before any relationship ever is your recovery, because you have to commit to it 100% in order to get there. So if you do decide to embark on a relationship at whatever time, you do have to make sure that you're working on your recovery all the time. Because what some people will do, they'll go into a relationship, very early on when they've just stopped drinking or taking drugs, and it will be like, oh, this has saved me, this is kind of the end of all things, and that's great. But what happens then when you break up? Nothing. You haven't done any work on your recovery necessarily. You haven't got the resources to deal with it. So it's really important that whoever you may or may not see, that you do continue to work on your recovery at all times. Never ever put that on the back burner. You must do work on your recovery and changing your thinking and your responses to life to help you become someone that's more easily able to deal with things and doesn't need to relapse. So yeah, that's an important thing. So I was also asked, should you be in a relationship with someone who's got the same issue as you? If you're in recovery from alcoholism, should you go out with another alcoholic? And these things can actually bring both benefits and disadvantages, I think. I mean, you would get a circumstance whereby you kind of are on each other's wavelength with a lot of things. You understand each other. It is nice. One of the nice things about mutual aid groups is that when you go to them, you finally meet people who really get what it's like to be you. And this is the same with all sort of mental health disorders, addictions. It's really nice to have that kind of understanding. At the same time, you must remember they have the same problem as you do. So if you have any screwy thinking or anything like that that comes with your disorder, so will they most likely. So again, you have to bear that in mind. And this is an interesting statistic, actually. For example, with drinking, they actually did a study of couples and looked at how much the people sort of drank, and they looked at divorce statistics. And this is a fairly recent thing. They found that people in a relationship where one person drank heavily, another person was teetotal, quite often that didn't work out very well, and it was more likely that you would stay together if you were both teetotal. It was more likely. So that's just something to bear in mind. You might just find that if you're with someone that has a different type of lifestyle to you, things just don't match up. You may find it too difficult, but there's no reason why you can't be with someone that's got none of those sort of things going on at all. It's just an interesting stat to bear in mind. So if you find someone wonderful who fits in perfectly with your life, respects your decisions, and respects and supports your recovery, then that's perfect as well. So yeah, the other really important thing to bear in mind, if you are going to go out with someone who is recovering from something, please make sure that it can be complicated if you both go to the same support groups. So if you're in the same AA group or NA, or you go to some mental health group that they're also a member of, what's going to happen? Often these things are places where we can share our sort of, our fears, our frustrations, our dilemmas. And unfortunately, if you've got someone who's, very close to you, and maybe they're the problem, you're not going to feel very comfortable in sharing that sort of thing with the group. So if you do have someone that's, you've met in a fellowship, it's essential that you have other forms of support as well, so you can go there and share those things if you need to. Cool, so hopefully that's helped you. A couple of concluding thoughts. Do bear in mind that if you're really, really newly sober, I mean in the first 3 months or something, you will find that your thoughts, if you haven't stopped before, are very confusing. Your feelings are all confused. You have feelings coming up that you might not have had in many years. and you will be in a different space further on, you know, into recovery. So just bear in mind that how you feel about someone or something right now might well change. So this is what I think, and this is the thing about everything like that, whether it's getting a job, getting a relationship, you do have to bear in mind that things will probably change, and you have to be prepared to deal with that. Don't make anything contingent upon your recovery, not being with someone, not being with someone. Make nothing contingent on recovery. Always work on your recovery. Always be prepared what you're going to do if things don't work out, and continue to develop yourself as a person, because actually the most important person in your life is always going to be you. It's just the way it is. Okay, so I hope that's helped you. I'll put the link to my website below. There's also, if you haven't read my books yet, there's a great book about how to be happy in recovery, which deals with sort of similar things of how you can kind of build a great life in recovery. It's called The Happy Addict. I'll put the link to that below as well, so you can check it out on Amazon. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.